Warning, the Spoilercast does contain spoilers of current and past movies, books, video, games, TV shows, and possibly your life. So if you're listening to a show called Spoilercast and you're pissed off that we gave away spoilers, we really don't care. Thanks again and have a wonderful day.
Hello, this is Roper from All-Tower Media, and this is Spoilercast. I have Ledge with me. Hi, Ledge.
How's it going, buddy?
Better than you, because I got more sleep.
Somehow, yeah. I don't know how.
That's a rarity.
It is very, very rare.
And
yes.
in tow, we have brought Jesse. Hi, Jesse.
Hello.
Wake up.
I'm here. I'm awake. I slept more than both of you combined.
All right, that's fair.
And I've had like a bunch of coffee today. I'm fairly caffeinated.
And Dire Monkey, how are you, sir?
Peachy.
Peachy keen. Mm-hmm. Except for your dumpster issue.
Except for a dumpster issue, assholes.
So, don't. Okay, public service announcement real quick. Don't dump in other people's dumpsters that's not your own. Find another place to throw them away.
Be a normal, trash bin and throw it on the side.
That's not a cool thing to do?
What? No, don't use other people. I mean, unless it's a public trash can. I wouldn't just... If it's behind a locked door in a giant concrete wall...
That means don't go the fuck in there.
Clearly, they're trying to keep you out.
Oh, so that seemed like an open invitation to me.
Yeah, that's definitely
it's a challenge?
Yeah.
Is that the way you're taking it? Whenever it says video surveillance occurring and there's a sign that says keep out.
I see free cheese and a challenge.
So that's not what we're here for.
Just talking about dumpsters all day.
Today's episode is a PSA on proper dumpster use.
And how you are a dumpster fire.
You're all assholes. So we actually all went. Well, Dire Monkey, have you had a chance to see it?
Negative.
I tried this time.
I know.
I did. I made great effort. And it didn't plan out.
Nope.
Life gets in the way. As you said, life will find a way to fuck you over.
That's pretty much the one guarantee in life.
Yeah.
That life will find a way to screw you.
It's not death and taxes.
Every time.
It's that life is going to hose you in some fashion.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So we, as in Jesse, Ledge, and I, we went over here and sat down and watched ourselves a fun little movie.
We held hands.
At the, not to be the weirdest one to make a plug for a place that doesn't give two shits that we exist.
Right.
Man, the Alamo Drafthouse is great.
I know, right?
Is that not ridiculous?
It's the best. I love everything about it.
The fact that I don't have to move for like 2 hours and 45 minutes and popcorn and drinks are just delivered to me.
To you.
The conversation I had with Ledge the other day is going there is the first time since I was like a child that I was actually like, man, I want to go to the movies.
Right? I can't stop with it. The only they're very. They've got their niche. They've got their group of people that they're actually aiming at as far as who they want there.
Like this guy.
Right.
Like this guy.
Well, and I mean, they're
I'll
definitely shooting for a market that's there.
Yeah, people that actually want to sit down and watch a movie and shut the fuck up while they're watching
have
it.
someone wait on them and bring them stuff.
Yup.
And, the only way it could be better is if you had those little... toilet recliners from Idiocracy.
From Idiocracy?
There we go. There we go.
I've got some complaints with that.
Going away, baiting.
Go away, I'm baiting.
So when you're walking to the theater, like your actual theater, do you feel like you're inside of a rape maze?
Yeah, actually. I can see where you're getting that from.
The first time I walked in there, I was like, where the fuck's the theater at?
All I know is when I
walked raped around the way.
All I know is I walked in there the first time because it was the 16, Camel 16 for the longest time. And I've been in that movie theater countless times.
Yeah, big
open
space.
there's no way that this is all changed to the point I don't know where things are. I walked in there, I'm like, where's the movie theaters at? I can't find the bathrooms.
Yeah, I just don't know where shit is.
This is bizarre what you have done with this space, but I love it. Now the artwork on the wall with the guy that has like the lasers coming out of the eyes and all the people and like a pile around him, it's fantastic. But yeah, no, the HAL 9000 right there at the very beginning is super cool.
Yep.
Anyhow, no, we went and saw Blade Runner 2049.
2049.
And did you watch the animated short that they had online,
So
Blackout?
there are actually 3 shorts.
Right. I watched Blackout, and then I watched the conversation with Jared Leto's character which
was 2048.
Yes.
2048.
Yes. And so it's him basically with
and
like
with
a
the
group
old
of people.
woman that has, and I said this to Ledge, I'm like, there's a woman who ends up getting a hard on in this one short.
Yeah, she's like
And he's
all
like,
super.
"What?"
Yeah, she gets like super excited about this.
Right. When the replicant straight slits its throat and stands there and just bleeds out, she's like
Giddy. Yeah.
Like,
have you not watched that?
he didn't watch.
Oh
it.
my god, dude!
I rewatched the original.
Like she is
before.
like she is joyful.
Right. Like there's a part of you like she's getting swampy.
Yeah, like you're watching it. So all of these people are sitting over here, and he's basically selling to them.
Jared
he's like,
Leto's character.
He's looking at him. He's like, "Look, I'm paraphrasing a lot here, but he goes, I understand that there were problems in the past, but
these ones obey.
These are not a problem."
Yeah.
And then he makes an example of the one that he brought with him
And
to
the
prove the point.
The thing that he says is, right now you have a choice.
Yes.
You can kill me and be free, or you kill yourself.
Yes. And then he just hauls off and was like, whoop, and just kills himself. And, of course, this woman sitting over here, like, the look on her face is just...
like...
I mean, it is...
Like I said, it's
total pleasure.
It's female hard-on.
It's
like,
total pleasure.
Yeah. And it's... I'm a weird one, too. But in that moment, I was like, whoa.
Listen, lady, you got some issues.
Need to pump the brakes.
But the thing is that comes on the tail end of, the human supremacy massacre or riot or whatever it was, where human beings were like, we are better than you, and they're killing replicants.
Right. Well, and there's...
Retiring.
Fine.
Retiring replicants. Whatever makes you feel good. Whatever lets you sleep at night. Whatever
You're
lets
killing
you dream
something.
of
So
electric sheep.
un-PC.
Thank you for bringing up the book.
Yeah, no, it's kind of weird. I'm not usually super fan servicey or really fanatical about things. But leading up to this movie, and this is how it all started actually, is they were like, hey, look, there's this anime short that's out there. It's by the guy who was part of Cowboy Bebop and what's the other one? Was it Samurai Champloo, I think?
Yes,
Samurai Champloo.
Right. Samurai Champloo, love it. One of my all-time favorite animes. Great anime. And, of course, Cowboy Bebop's a classic.
Absolutely.
If you don't like Cowboy Bebop, there is something wrong with you.
We need to reevaluate our relationship if
there
you don't.
is something wrong with you. I mean, to the point that I've had ex-girlfriends that were like, I don't like anime, I don't like fantasy things. And I'm like, here, watch Cowboy Bebop. And they're like, oh my God, this is beautiful. And I'm like, yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
But
listen, this is like the high end of it. So there are some other ones that are bad. Okay.
Yeah, there are animes that are bad, and there are some that... But we're not going to go there.
Right.
Anime is a large category. Cartoons are not just for kids. Anything you can think of, there is an anime about it. Anything from, tennis club at high school to, like, bathroom humor and things we're not going to discuss in Polite Company.
This is Polite Company? Dire Monkey, is this Polite Company?
Fuck no.
It's, some of that shit, it's... But yeah, so I saw that short was out.
Mm-hmm.
And I love anime.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. And I really wanted to watch the short.
Yeah.
So I go and I load the short up, and then I'm like, I don't know that I really remember all of the...
Blade Runner.
Right. All of the premise of Blade Runner.
Now, did you rewatch it? Like
Yes.
right then and there? Okay.
Yes.
Did you watch the director's cut or the original release?
I watched the 1992 director's cut edition, which, from what I understand, is billed as the definitive...
The movie.
Yes.
Right. The definitive edition.
Right. Is that what you watched too, Ledge?
Yes.
Okay. So I watched that, and then I was like, man, this is a really great flick. I mean, and not that there's not shortcomings. There are some, issues with some of the extras and some of the stunt people that they had. But for all
for
things
its time,
aside...
For its time.
Great flick.
What
and
all it
I love
is,
the premise, and I'm kind of disconnected anyway, so...
Yeah.
Me being like, oh, yeah, what's the meaning of being human...
Those are great questions.
Great flick.
It raises... we went and saw this movie, and then, stood around for 45 minutes, almost an hour.
Give or take, just kind of...
Just going...
Right.
And then we got onto this really large conversation piece about how we're basically deities to the microorganisms that live within ourselves. And
which really wraps full circle into the conversation of you are nothing, you don't matter, and nothing else matters either. So.
And then at one point, all of us agreed that Deckard's totally a human.
No, we didn't.
And it was great.
So we're going to get to that.
It was lovely.
We're coming around to that. Okay, back to the shorts.
Listen, we're building groundwork here. Don't jump the horse.
Okay, so we'll go back to the shorts, right? So I went and watched Blade Runner.
Yes.
The original movie.
Yes.
Great. Loved it. Fantastic. And then I watched the shorts themselves.
Right.
In chronological order.
So what's the third one? I know of Blackout, which is 2022.
2022.
And then you've got the
and then there's
conference.
one that is 2036.
Okay. Which is...
well, I'll get to that one in just a second. And then, of course, the last one is 2048.
Right.
So in 2022, which is actually the most lengthy of the three shorts, it's the animated one, they follow a couple of replicants, and the scene opens essentially with...
Nexus 8 robots, and there are 8 of them.
Yeah. Well, you actually only see 2 of them.
Right, but they make reference.
They do. They make reference to the other ones, and essentially...
And that's actually important because...
There's 3.
That's important because
they show up later, yes.
Sapper.
The woman...
Sapper is one of the ones as well, which is...
the big guy.
The big guy.
Right, okay, so the whole thing, but the animated short starts centered on...
2.
A pleasure replicant.
Yes.
And she's in an alleyway, and there are 3 humans, and they're like, well, this is what you were designed for. We're about to take what we want.
Yeah.
And,
Humans being scum of the earth.
Right. Yeah. Humans being the typical piece of shit that we are, So then Deus Ex Machina. Here
Iggy.
comes replicant. Yes. Mr. Dreadlock, replicant from the sky.
Iggy.
And he says,
I love the fact that
this is what I was designed for. Smash, smash, smash.
Kill, death.
Right.
Blood, death.
But they go through the story, and they talk about how essentially the replicants just want to be able to be alive. They no longer have the 4-year lifespan, and what they want is to be able to live a life of their choosing. Which, again, doesn't seem like a huge fucking request.
Right.
Short of your life being like, I want to end all humanity. Like, okay, fine.
Hey,
and then that's not not their purpose.
Hey, baby, want to kill all the humans?
Right, yeah. Bite my shiny middle ass. But right, so then 2022 follows essentially this pleasure bot and Iggy as they're driving a fuel truck.
It's like a tanker vehicle of some kind.
To the massive server farm in, I believe it's San Francisco.
Is this where they knock out the database?
It's 2 things.
It's 2 things.
One
of them...
The pleasure bot has been long-term seducing a guy. I'm assuming he's a human, because they never ever make a reference to him being an AI or a replicant, because he's actually one of the ones that's in the control room where they're launching.
No, see, I thought that he was, because there's 3 people in that control room.
Right.
There's the general.
Yes.
The one guy on the left.
Right.
And then the third guy on the right was part of the plan.
And he's over here like
they said
hiding.
He was a replicant.
See, and I don't know. That's the problem. I don't recall whether or not he was on.
It's probably worth watching again, but
right. I don't recall if he was on the roster for the replicants. He
was part of the plan, though.
Right, but he's part of the plan, and it shows the scene where she is with him, and they're like having a moment with one another. Because and he does specifically say, "Does it bother you that I'm not?"
That's right. That's right. You're correct.
So
he is a human.
She's long term.
She's in a relationship. She's in a relationship with him.
She's convinced this guy, who's supposed to be part of this nuclear warhead testing thing, and they're launching this deal,
right.
To help them detonate this nuke over the top of
the.
Basically, he changes the heading of the missile and has it detonate over San Francisco as opposed to detonating over whatever, some foreign country or whoever we were.
So, in addition to this firebomb that's occurring, and they make reference to the other ones.
It's very important that more than it just being a firebomb, it is a nuclear warhead that creates an EMP.
Right.
That's very important. Knocking out,
in addition to that, Iggy and the other one are taking this truck in, and he makes reference on the way there saying there are other cells doing the same thing we're doing now.
Right.
And what they're doing is they're knocking out the hard data as well. So now this EMP is going off over top,
which destroys the network,
and everything is going on down at the server farms.
And so in the same moment, essentially what happens is that they're detonating an EMP to disrupt all communication and make it so that no one can make the hard hard backups, and they reference it in 2049 where they say, oh, well, the data from before the blackout is really hard to be found, and even if you can find it, a lot of it is screwed up.
Yep.
And it's because
most of this is a twofold thing, because they're the Human Supremacy Act, or the people that are rising up and killing the replicants, are using the registration list of replicants to hunt them down and kill them. So there's that. And in the middle of this as well, in the background, a very limited few people know of the occurrence of what leads us to 2049.
Right.
And they we're getting to that. I'm sliding it in here. I'm laying the groundwork this is happening. This is happening in the background of it. So you know that they're hiding, themselves, because that's part of what it is. The blackout is for, is to hide themselves, because then they don't have the registration list to go off of to be able to kill them. Obviously, some of them are already outed, and that's sorry about you.
They're done for.
But then you've got this other thing that's happening in the background that we don't know about until we get to 2049 and the events that start occurring with it.
So then, let's see, another part of this, and we'll go ahead and finish off with 2022. As I said, this was the longest one, of course. So there's kind of
almost 12 minutes long.
12 minutes, yeah,
roughly.
It's good solid 12 minutes worth of them, of content.
Yeah.
So my actual, one of my favorite parts at the very end with Iggy, because the whole thing with the replicants is look up and to the left, let's see your perfect eye.
Yeah.
And they reference that throughout all of the shorts. They reference that through 2049. But at the end of 2022, you see Iggy, and he is now wearing an eye patch where he has removed his quote-unquote
branded
perfect eye. Which I kind of enjoy that whole... I'm so desperate to live my own life that I will...
rip my own eye out.
Mutilate myself in order to try and just grasp at freedom.
Yeah.
Interesting concept.
Right? It's a very Saul moment for you there.
Yeah. It's and again, like this whole, I think, again, part of this whole series, it speaks very much to what is it that makes you a human?
Yeah.
What is it that makes you free? What is it that makes you who you are? What do you believe? How do you think? Why do you think how you think?
Right. Let me ask you this. Short of the serial tag, or the serial numbers etched in apparently everywhere on these guys.
Right, in several locations.
Right. What's the difference between a human and a replicant when you get right down to it? Okay, so because they've got superior strength than us, but outside of that?
Realistically, nothing. I mean, because, and the reason that I say it's nothing,
right,
is that, if they're an android, okay, fine, they're an android. They have robotic parts inside of them that make them an android. But in 2049, not only do they have bones that obviously you can see, fractures in and, evidence of trauma in, but they have the same structure. They bleed. The bones themselves have the same structure as normal bones.
Yep.
And then when later on, as they're looking for, the Messiah, we'll go ahead and call it for now, whatever. The
MacGuffin.
Right. The end all be all. He's trying to go through these records at the orphanage to find the kid, and he's essentially looking at DNA readouts, TGCAs.
Yeah.
And so if your bone is structured the same and you bleed and
you've got DNA,
you have flesh and you have DNA.
Yep. What really separates you from me?
Short of the fact that we've told you who you are because we implanted memories in you. And I mean, that's not far from how life actually happens anyway.
I mean, to a degree, yeah.
Well,
baby's born, and then over time you start like...
Well, I'm sure, being the security guard, working around the hospital, working around some other things, about cognitive bias, and there's another one where there's, and this is an interesting psychological experiment, where you can implant memories in people depending on how you question them.
Oh, well, the thing is that you start getting into the shared memory thing.
Right.
A car accident happens, and you want to separate people as quickly as possible to get their story, because if they group together and start talking about it,
it will change.
One person who has a dominant personality can influence the others in what their perception was, and that person doesn't necessarily realize that they don't recall it. It's just that they're filling in the blanks with what they didn't see, with what the other person claims to have saw. And it's not that they're being untruthful. It's just that's the way our brain works.
Though, right? And our brains as humans, as biological creatures, are flawed, wholly flawed. And the interesting thing is the flaws have enabled us to continue to survive. If it weren't for the flaws that we have, we never would have made it. Because back to that whole life is going to find a way to fuck you thing.
Yep. By the way, I'm titling this movie as Life Finds a Way.
Life finds a way. You see,
don't shake your head at me.
Fucking easy, Jeff Goldblum. Life finds a way.
Life finds a way. Yeah, see.
Right.
So on a totally unrelated topic for just a second, I'm super excited for the next Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah?
It's supposed to be good.
It's supposed to be good.
Yeah.
Like, bringing back Sam O'Neill.
Right.
Talking Jeff Goldblum as well. Like, pretty stoked.
You never know.
Back to life fucking us. Let's go.
Okay.
Hold on. Wait. I would like to point out that someone the other day told me that Chris Pratt has the worst name ever. And I said, why? What's wrong with it? And he goes, Crisp Rat. And now I can't stop hearing Chris Pratt. Every time I say Chris Pratt, I keep saying Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt. It's all never mind. Never. Freaking chicken, chicken to friggin'. All right. Okay.
Backpedal. So okay. Here's the deal. Have we finished off the shorts?
We have not finished off the shorts.
We know.
So the second one, second short, because
the one that I
didn't
see.
You haven't seen.
Right. Okay.
It follows the big guy with the glasses.
Sapper.
All right. See, and again, this is my non-fanatical part. I don't know names.
Well, that's the way my brain works.
Fair enough.
I can't remember the pleasure robot's
name.
You
fill in those details.
That's fine. as I recall them, because I don't necessarily remember all of them.
So the second short essentially follows the big guy,
right?
And he's going to some sort of black market, and that's I love the grittiness of the universe in Blade Runner. The whole thing of here we are in this advanced society, and yet every common person, every common person lives in the fucking shanty town.
All of the nice stuff is built over the bones of all of the bad stuff.
And the vast majority of your existence, essentially, the vast majority of people who exist, things that exist, the replicants, they all inhabit, essentially, the dirt and the muck and the mire. And only except for the few gods among men, only those few select people, and they all exist in high-rises.
Right.
And they're beautiful and shiny, and things are perfect and neat. Everywhere else, things are disgusting and grimy, and, there's shit all over the place, and people herding ostriches and shit.
Clearly, no one lives outside of these giant megacities,
right?
For the most part,
and partially they talk about that in 2049, saying that Las Vegas was so irradiated that people couldn't live there
anymore.
So I mean, I imagine there's some more storyline there, but I don't know. I didn't get to read all of it. But.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second short follows the big guy, and essentially he's going to this biome market, and he's selling some of the worms. And you see, when you first see him in the movie, he's looking at some of these worms, and he says he's a protein farmer, and whatever the case is. Well, in the second short, he's selling these worms to this black market guy, and I forget if it's their poison or if it's something about the genetics of them, but essentially he says that he's biologically engineering these special worms, and he's selling off these worms for, I don't know what, for money, for something. And it also shows him talking to a girl and her mother in the alley, and him, trying to be, for all intents and purposes, a decent person. I use that kind of loosely, seeing as how he's a ginormous fucking replicant. So he goes and he sells these worms. He comes back out. Some people that's what it is. People are trying to rape the little girl's mother. He steps in and bashes a face. And, normal movie things happen. His buddies come in and they're like, "Hey, you can't fuck up our buddy. We're going to kill you." And he replicants out and starts smashing people's heads and shit. And then he kills all these people, and then he wanders off, or runs off, whatever you want to call it. And in the very last scene of that short, you have someone from inside the alley who found this guy's paperwork that he dropped, and he calls in to the police department and says, hey, I have a location of a person you might be interested in.
And that's what ties us across.
Which is really, it's kind of a nice little piece, because in that moment when you're like, well, where the fuck did they find this dude at? How the fuck did they know to go out here to this farm and find this guy? What the hell is going on? What? That little short literally answers.
Bridges the final gap.
Right. How he goes out there, how he finds the guy, how the whole thing works.
Well, I was trying to find it. I can't recall specifically what they're called, but there's a parking lot that I go to on a very regular basis. Those worms that he has, they're just crawling all over this parking lot.
And I mean,
there's some kind of horned worm.
Well, there's like a grub, some kind of wood grub or something too.
Yeah, I don't remember what they're called. Like I said, I was trying to find.
There's a couple of different larvae.
It's not necessary to really
which
know.
And
they're
it's
ugly.
Interesting.
Those little horns that are on the top of them, I keep thinking are feet, but apparently they're not.
No.
So,
and it's it's an interesting thing, because realistically, when we talk about overpopulation and the state of the planet and people and things, there are a lot of people out there who are like, look, in the future, what we're going to be eating is bugs. That is the literal most abundant protein source on the face of the planet. They take up the least amount of resources and the least amount of space. Well, there's that option too, but you got to watch out for that, because when you're eating people, if you get some of the spinal fluid, it'll make you get all fucking wonky and
cowish.
Shit.
Yep.
Yeah. Mad cowish.
Mad
peopleish. Mad peopleish. Yeah, there we go. We just coined that term, mad peopleish. So
for when that happens, when that happens later.
Right.
Okay, so that brings us around to
Third short,
yes, right. Which is the one that we discussed earlier, which is Jared Leto's character essentially showing up to speak with. Are there three of them that are in the room?
There's four. There's
four
some form of political.
And you don't know.
You don't
really explain who they are.
They're more or less. I mean, you feel like you're just in like a dark broom closet more than anything,
right? But you get the idea that these people are whatever heads of industry,
obviously of some sort of importance,
political.
Because
right, they are people who are making decisions, and the only reason that you can tell this is because he says to them, based on your decisions, you are limiting the ability of the entire race to colonize the solar system.
Off-world.
Yup.
And it's weird, there's that part of me too that like the weird disconnected logical part that's like, well, he's right. You people being like, oh, we gotta have humans and we can't sacrifice human lives, and so now we're stuck on this fucking shit mudball to live in fucking squalor. Like, I kind of agree with him. Yeah, either we kill people or we make things we can kill, because that's the only place. Like, that's the only way we're gonna get somewhere is by, sacrificing.
Yep.
And I mean, RNG is a bitch, but
RNGesus.
Yeah, dude. Well, and I've had that conversation too. Again, back to the pissing off people in positions of authority conversation that we were having the other day. The question was posed to me: do you think it's right to kill an infant? God, no, I don't. I would never go and kill an infant.
Right.
But I do understand that that's a thing that happens. And then the question was posed, well, what if you were that infant? And my response was, well, I guess bad RNG on my part. The look on the person's face.
I mean, what are you supposed to do?
Right.
You're an infant.
Well, I mean, besides the fact that it's like, and what they were wanting from me was for me to be like, well, I would hope that didn't happen to me, and in the right sense of a world, this would never happen. But that's not the case. The reality is that existence sucks. The only way that you can exist is for other things to die. That is, period. Like, that's the only way that
I'm having a Mr. Mises moment here.
Oh, God. Existence is pain.
I should have worn my shirt.
So, Ledge, haven't heard from you a whole bunch. Jesse's been doing a great job setting up all of the groundwork for us, but now we're at 2049. Okay, we're at the beginning of the movie. We have just landed our little hoverplane car thingy, and we're on the farm. Where you go from here? Tell me about all this.
All right, and I'm assuming that's Sapper, the same person who's from the shorts.
With the cool glasses.
So basically, Harrison, or not,
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling's character lands.
Harrison
Gosling's character, crazy mutated
generic detective A.
Yeah, basically. Lands on this farm, doesn't really give you much insight as to, obviously we were just discussing the shorts is kind of what bridges that gap. So you don't really know why he's there. You don't even really know where the fuck he's at other than California. That's all it says. Lands on this random farm, showing this dude played by Batista.
Yeah.
Which I thought was nice, too. Kind of seeing him in something else other than Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
You know, he's in one of the Pitch Black movies, right, with Vin Diesel.
I did not know he was
he's in one of the
Riddick
Riddick movies. He's
really?
He's in the one called Riddick, I think.
I did not know that.
Because they show up on this planet, and he's like, Riddick's going savage, and he's got his leg broke because the necromongers left him there for dead, and he ends up fighting his way through, and then he finds a little outstation. He sends out a call, and he's like, "This is me, come get me." And he leaves a warning on the wall that's like, "Leave one ship and get the heck out of here." And Batista and his crew, it's not his crew, it's somebody else's running, but he's in the crew. He's like, "This guy's an idiot. We only showed up with one ship. What do you mean leave one ship?" And then another ship shows up, and then people start dying. He was like, and then he looks back over at the warning on the wall. He's like, "That's starting to make more sense now."
That's
funny.
That's great.
I enjoy that actor. Like the Drax's character is good.
Yeah.
But
Drax is hilarious.
Him as a more somber character,
Yeah.
I really kind
Do you remember him
enjoy.
in the Riddick movie that I'm talking about?
Now that you mention it, I feel like I do.
He was
remember
actually
that, but
pretty good in that
it's
Too.
been years.
I mean, it was
It's been years.
It was a
since I've
little
watched
part.
that.
It was a very little part, but he was good.
Right.
You know, he's not
Well,
a bad actor.
He's really for a guy who seems kind of distant. He definitely can relay. Like, I feel like he relays a lot of somber emotion.
Yeah.
To the roles that he plays, and that's kind of lost in the Drax's part, because in a way he's played very goofily,
Right?
And that fits that character.
But
don't
that's
get
to
me wrong.
mask all the pain underneath him, is what that's supposed to be.
But,
and that's why it's so good.
But yeah, him as
because
as an actor,
but because of what we're used to seeing him as, is this. Like, well, Sapper's a great example of who he plays.
Well, and like the short that involves him, you know, like I said, it's really brilliantly done, because he shows up to this alley.
Yep.
He brings this little girl a book. He's
this big monstrous dude,
right,
with a heart that's just solid gold.
You know, he wants to be. Yeah, he wants to be. You know, he wants to have that connection.
Yes.
And then the end of it, of course, is that he's got to smash faces.
He wants to be a better human than humans are.
Yeah.
I think is really kind of
that's part of
the
it.
theme.
I think for him, it's more just, you know, he wants a connection, like you're saying, and most people, because of his overwhelming
in
appearance,
that moment, you've never witnessed a miracle,
right?
You know, like
Right.
that's a very sort of
Deep,
definitive thing to say.
Yeah,
So,
no kidding.
So Ryan Gosling confronts him. They're having this exchange.
I don't want to hurt you.
Yeah, and then they start just fighting it out,
Right.
and
They have a relatively brief fight.
It shores it up real quick that Gosling's character is a replicant. There, it just nukes any question about it right off the top.
Right.
And then we start following him further out. You know, he happens across a little flower, and
the flower is important.
It is. Oh yeah,
flower
There's
is
like
very
two
important.
daisies that was at the base of a giant dead tree.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, this
Right.
dead tree is also, for whatever reason, anchored down. I don't know if you saw when
Yeah,
it pulled away.
with the tie straps.
Yes, it's guidelined down and anchored down to where it cannot fall, it cannot do anything.
Oh, I
So
didn't
it
notice that.
Yeah, it is anchored.
They show
into
that
the
several
ground.
times, that they're and very distinctly, coming from an engineering standpoint, there are 3 tie lines. It is tied off equally, so that there is no way that this tree can be knocked
fall
over,
or be knocked
short of ripping it down with force.
because it's a monument.
Yes,
Right. It is a monument to a miracle.
And so that makes more sense why he's focusing more on the tree, because he keeps looking at. I mean, he keeps looking at it.
The tree also, more than it being a monument to a miracle, with the engraving that's on it, it's a headstone.
Yeah,
It's it's a
that's what the
burial
flower
place.
represents.
The flower represents his grieving, essentially.
Yeah.
To show, and granted, this is a live flower, mind you, in a world that has no fucking color.
Yeah.
Okay, there are
and
not living
that-
things other than
and I think
shitty humans.
all of this kind of really speaks volumes, in my opinion, towards replicants over human beings. Because because of the world that's been established and what it is we're seeing.
In a way, and then this is an interesting thing too, is that humans essentially have lost any desire to continue life. Where replicants, their entire fight is just to be able to have a life.
All of the things that humans have taken for granted for God knows how long in this particular narrative, I mean, you see humans all kind of packed into, like, when he goes to his apartment after, and we'll go back and touch on what happens at the tree. But, like, after the tree moment happens and the whole miracle is discovered, so on and so forth, when you see Ryan Gosling's character go back to his apartment, and it's just crowded full of vagrants and just...
The way that the people treat him, the shit that people say to him, the old woman who's like, "Why are you coming back here? Who do you have waiting for you?" Mm-hmm. You know, like, that's some pretty heavy shit right there.
But and I'm assuming the majority of the people who are in these apartments are people too.
Right. I've got a line much more cutting than that, and it is just after this. Well, he does a scan. He finds the crate that's underneath the ground, directly beneath the tree. They decide to send out a dig team. He goes back to do his debrief.
Right.
Or receive baseline.
Ugh. And that scene is so... well, I should say those combined scenes.
So he goes back, and he's...
The baseline is... Yeah.
Baseline's interesting, right?
It's like trying to put as much stress on you.
Well, and it's psychological programming too. Not only is it one trying to see if you are, again, baselines, trying to test your baseline, but it's trying to program you at the same time. It's trying to make you believe that nothing matters, that you are only something that doesn't matter. Repeat the things that we say. Repeat them fast. Believe what I'm telling you.
Yep. Don't hesitate. Go, go, go.
Right.
And then they find out that the Bones was bearing a child.
Right. There's
and the Bones are a replicant. Right.
So we can go ahead and I guess just
we're just pulling the Band-Aid off
the cat
there.
out of the bag here as far as who the Bones belong to.
We'll build to that. I think we'll hold off for just a minute. So the thing is they find these bones. They realize it's a replicant. And of course, I'm assuming it's a lieutenant, a captain. They refer to her as Madam.
Right. She must be, yeah.
She's some type of high official.
She's the head of that branch of the San Francisco Police Department.
Yeah. So she's up there. And she clearly is the boss.
Talking about the Walls statement, aren't you?
The Walls?
Yeah. Is that the one you...
No. The one that's the most cutting for me was she's like, you need to find this kid and kill this kid, because if it's a replicant that's been, that had a baby...
It's the Walls comment. Yeah.
Is it?
There are walls that keep civilization
No.
in place,
That's the conversation. It's immediately afterwards. She's like, is that going to be a problem? And he's like, well, I've never killed anything with a soul before. And then
I've never killed anything that's been born.
And she's like, well, what's the difference? And he's like, well, I guess it has a soul.
And she's like, you've got along fine without one.
You've gotten along. Hey, Kay, you've gotten along fine without one.
And
he's like, what's that? A soul. And it's like, damn, bitch, why did you just thanks for throwing that at me.
Yeah,
I mean, because you can see it hurts him.
Well, and on a realistic level, I think that, it seems to me like a lot of the humans, at least in the current world that Blade Runner has created, although they can acknowledge that the replicants can do what humans can do.
And better.
And even better, with enhanced strength, so on and so forth. I still feel like a lot of the humans view them as like almost kind of robots that just follow a strict programming.
They view them as less than.
Yeah, they don't have thoughts like outside of the box of what they're told. So
now, okay, here you want to talk about, and back to and I love different psychological sort of trials and different psychological studies. So there's an interesting study out there that talks about empathy and how we view other human beings.
Yes.
And so apparently for the vast majority of people, when they view a homeless person, the reason that it's so easy to ignore this person's plight or their struggle or anything is that they essentially view them as not being human. Which is really weird, because the same people who can view these homeless people as not being human will have that human compassionate response to animals and to cars and to objects, but yet they'll see humans. A human, an actual fucking human being, and be like, nah, they're trash.
You put yourself there. You clearly have done whatever it is that got you to the point that you're at.
Life never fucks anyone,
right? No, never.
Well, clearly, the whole less than that.
But clearly, the dog can't take care of himself, so therefore, I need to.
Yeah, there's been a shitload of different tests and studies that can show, and even little experiments that have shown people refuse to acknowledge whatever advantages or head starts that they are given to reach whatever end goal it may be, whether it be I have a lot of money, I'm successful, I have a nice job, I have a wife and kids and the dog, and the American dream, so on and so forth.
Right.
people refuse to acknowledge whatever head start or advantages that they had to achieve that goal, because then that cheapens that goal for them. Like, they want to think that they fought hard through the muck when their parents paid for their Ivy League college, and parents paid for their car, and their parents made sure all their bills were taken care of, but they had to fight hard. They had to study really hard, and they had to live in the dorms that they never had to work.
Bias, man.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it is.
See, there's the delusion.
But people refuse.
Well, and then that's back to, what is it that makes you human? What do you really want to believe? Well, let's see. You want to believe what you want to believe. And so what you'll do is you'll listen to people who reinforce
what you want to
believe, and you will never acknowledge anything that doesn't reinforce
So
that.
at one point in time, I was listening to another show on YouTube, The Atheist Experience.
Okay,
I was listening to it. They got a host on there. His name's Matt Dillahunty. I've actually crossed paths with the guy. I talked to him before. I'm like, oh, yeah, I watch your show, all this good stuff. I've watched several episodes, and he told me something interesting. He's like, well, you should stop on occasion watching our show and watch other things.
Right.
Stuff that you don't necessarily agree with.
Yeah.
People you don't necessarily agree with. And this is going to do one of two things. It's going to either challenge the things that you have, that your thoughts and stances on things, or it's going to reinforce what it is you believe, because they're not going to present good argument against what it is that your stance is.
But like, at least hear both sides, or however many sides of the story there are, and fucking decide for yourself.
Yeah,
and don't just regurgitate the shit that other people have fucking fed you.
But the thing is if all you're doing is listening to yes men, people that are just constantly reinforcing your own position, then you'll never ever think any other way.
Well, and it's okay, and I'm a weird one, but Ledge and I have had these conversations about Hitler. Okay, and
right.
Hitler's a really interesting example. He was someone who, was in the right place at the wrong time in a lot of ways. Well, I mean, before he was
I think you have to build on that a little bit for me.
Before he was ever, okay, and bear with me, because I understand that I am in no way, shape, or form.
We're off tangent.
Right, we are way off. We are way off there. But, okay, I am not Aryan Nation. I would have been killed, I would have been group one into the ovens.
I was going to say, you don't have any of the defining features.
I would have been group one into the ovens. I recognize that, okay? But the thing is, so Hitler, he went to school. He was a low class person. He came from a low income family. He wasn't really well off. He didn't really have a lot of advantage in life. He tried to apply for art school.
Got denied.
He was rejected for art school. After he was rejected for art school, he essentially went to work for the Socialist Party and was digging ditches, building roads and infrastructure for Germany, for the people with money. This is where he first encountered, essentially, the beginnings of the Nazi
Party. Yeah.
And it was these beginnings of him being in the dirt, being in the trenches, trying to rebuild infrastructure that he first learned of the Nazi Party. And from there, essentially, he started to be thrust into a place of power, not because he held these ideals or he came up with these ideals, but because he was a good orator. He was someone that people listened to. People enjoyed hearing him speak. He was very passionate in the way that he spoke about things. And even so that very beginning, okay, essentially him being in this place of, sort of deprivation almost, him feeling like he has no reason to live and he's just a grunt and he's getting completely worked by the system, put him in a place to be sort of used as a figurehead. And even throughout him being a leader, not to say that he never made any questionable decisions, because he did.
Clearly.
Right. But he had people behind him the entire time who were feeding him drugs and terrible ideas. And he was so closed off from everything else.
From any other opinion or any reality, realistically.
Right, from anything other than, yes, these people are terrible. Yes, they're trying to kill you and the ones that you love. The only thing
they're the only reason the world is the way that it is.
Right. And so, and this is that weird thing, is that everyone, okay, wants to believe that they're trying to build a better place. There are very, very few people in the world who are actually out there going, I just want to fuck everyone over.
Yeah.
The reality is that the people who you look at and are like, oh, this person's a piece of shit, in their mind, that person is going, I am trying to make things better.
Well, everyone thinks that their means justifies their end.
Right, exactly. And what's crazy is, and this is back to that thing of, well, look at things that are different from what you believe, is that when you have only the people around you who are like, yeah, fuck those low-class, low-income pieces of shit. They don't deserve nothing because they ain't going to try for it. Like, okay, you realize
then you get America.
The only reason that you're in Right. You're in this position where you think that you're entitled to a whole bunch of things. And the only reason that you are in this place where you feel like you're entitled is because someone else suffered for you to fucking be there.
Yep.
So, pulling us more back towards Sinner.
Back to the movie. Back to
baseline.
Okay. Back to baseline.
Back to baseline.
God, I need to memorize that speech. So
right?
Things are cells in a cell.
In a cell, yeah.
In a cell.
So then he goes home, and he's got he's got an AI.
Yeah,
but she's off screen, and so you don't know it's an AI to begin with.
You just hear a woman's voice talking.
There's
to
just someone, and just someone that's there, and he's talking.
I don't know if it's just me, but there was that part of me when he walks in there that I really was.
We're gonna have to speed way.
Yeah,
up.
we gotta get this going. But there was that part of me when we walked in there, and I was like, he's talking to the house.
Yeah. So
I actually assumed that the first time when he walked in as well, is that it was some sort of smart house, and that's what he was talking to.
So, interestingly enough, he sits down, he's eating his protein meal that she puts a thing over the top, a hologram over, so it doesn't appear.
A food hologram of like steak and French fries.
Yeah. Right.
And he's eating like...
You believe what I'll tell you to believe.
Yeah. So, okay, we're gonna progress way on forward.
Right,
so,
get this shit going.
she is the AI. She's connected to the corporation.
To the W something.
Yeah. Anyway, she which
Waylon?
It's
not Waylon.
Williams.
Yeah, maybe? It's something. What's Jared Leto's character's name? Wallace.
Corp.
There you go, Wallace.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Neander Wallace.
Which one of the two of you, or either of the two of you, or both of you two, thought that she was totally playing spy for them?
Oh, I 100% did.
I sort of thought she was. I definitely thought she was when she was looking over his shoulder while he's going through records.
Yeah.
But at the moment,
now, did you think that she was doing it deliberately or Big Brother-esque?
I thought that it was Big Brother-esque. Like, I did not think that she was deliberately trying to spy. I had just assumed that, due to her programming and trying to be close and so on and so forth, like, it's going to give her ease of access to see a lot of stuff inside of his life or stuff that he is doing, which then is going to be viewed by whoever at Wallace Corp.
Right.
I never thought it was like her programming was trying to.
Do you think she's a real AI?
I 100% think
I didn't think she was a real AI until
at
the
first,
very end.
Yes.
Till the moment that they killed her, I didn't think that she was a real AI.
Really?
Or until that last little bit.
Right.
I essentially figured...
Where he unhooks the antenna.
That's when I assumed that...
Basically, after the unhooking the antenna is when I started to think that she was an actual AI.
Well, she has
Prior to that, I figured that she was a set of programming to make him feel welcomed. It was essentially a program to make you feel comforted and make you feel like someone cares.
Right.
But it wasn't actually something that was thinking.
And clearly she is.
But then at the end...
She's like screaming, "I love you!" as it's being stomped on.
Hope you enjoy our product.
Oh, that bitch! All right, so we end up tracking down Harrison Ford, who's living out in the middle of Vegas.
Casino.
Yeah, in a casino. He's got lots of...
And we gloss over a very important part here, which is when they first come into Las Vegas,
yeah.
Signs of life. What the hell is that? I don't know. Here you have a replicant speaking to an AI, and they're like, what is this thing? And they have no idea.
Yep.
To lo and behold, find that here's a giant colony of bees
yeah.
in an irradiated zone, which goes back to the very beginning when you're like, where the fuck did these flowers come from?
Right.
Interesting thought, because bees don't exist without the flowers.
So we have all of this. Now, he's out here because of this. He's trying to track down the kid. And at this moment, he's already found some things that suggest that he's the kid.
He's under the assumption.
Based off of the memory that's in his head.
Right.
And finding the horse that was in the furnace, and he was like, holy crap, I totally was this.
Which, see, and at that point...
because he goes to the lady who creates these memories.
The memory maker.
And he's like, hey, is this a thing? Is this a real memory?
The second that we got brought to her, I'm just going to say, I called that shit.
Did you?
I called it.
I saw you do an arm punch.
I knew.
I saw you do an arm pump.
The second that we showed up to that place, I was like, yep, that's going to happen.
Yep. But the thing is I saw you do the arm pump, and you're like, yeah, nailed it at the end of the movie. But earlier on, I also recall you leaning over to me a couple of times and being like, is he going to go see his dad? Is he going to go see his dad?
Oh, yeah.
Right,
absolutely.
Because you were buying it, too. I was buying it.
See, and what I
But
thought...
the problem I had with it was it was too spoon-fed.
Yes,
Right.
yes. That's
I
what
actually
Jesse was
thought
saying.
the horse was a plant. I figured that what was really going on, because Deckard was a really important key to this, I really thought part of what was going on was that all of this mental mind fuckery that they were doing to Gosling's character was to enable him to go and find Deckard. Because they knew that without, like, there was no way that they were going to track him down.
Right.
And so short of creating someone to believe that he needed to find Deckard,
right.
they would never find him.
It gets into like some Matrixy shit. Creating someone
so
to believe.
We're going to skip to some rather important questions.
All right. Let's do this shit.
We're going to shift some gears
Fast
here.
fire, back to baseline.
This is going to be awesome. So...
what does it feel like to hold your loved one?
First question I have here is Deckard a replicant?
100%, without a doubt. I say that
absolutely
he is.
not.
Okay, and my vote is that he is in fact a replicant. Now, Ledge, why do you? Because you're the minority here. Why do you think that he's not a replicant? Wow, bad man.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Just for all of you uninitiated, that's old Ledgerino's cell phone.
You guys didn't hear anything.
Studio rules have been cleaned off the board.
That's unfortunately like work calling, but I will call them back after this.
Oh, well, we got just a little bit more here.
Regardless, I do not think he's a replicant for, multiple reasons. I don't think for him to have been a replicant would have required such a great amount of, I don't know what the correct word is. It would have been almost impossible.
You think?
Because at the point when Deckard would have been created, and Deckard was probably, in his 30s whenever that happened? Or, whenever the first Blade Runner happened?
Do you not realize the replicants fall out of the fucking bag fully grown?
Yeah, but how long was he a Blade Runner?
Implanted
maybe
memories.
A couple years.
Implanted memories.
Okay,
he could have been dropped into that. He could have been dropped into that role that day.
So you're telling me that all of the humans around who are already do not like replicants, who are already very gun shy of replicants, are all just going to accept that?
Were,
oh, hey,
at that point in time,
Blade Runner.
in the first movie, at that point in time, they were not gun shy of replicants because they hadn't fucked everything up.
They
yet.
still didn't like replicants.
They didn't like them, but here's the deal.
And no one liked Deckard's character.
Here's the deal.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. Deckard's character very easily could have been in the position for a short period of time. Tyrell Corporation at that point actually was controlling a lot of things. A lot of things. They could have easily put him in there. And this actually builds to my argument in why he is a replicant. Mm-hmm. So Tyrell builds or makes Rachel. Mm-hmm. And she is special because she's supposed to be the one that's supposed to be.
We should probably mention that to everyone.
She's the one that actually is
the bones are Rachel. Yeah, Rachel has
and
a
Deckard
baby.
is daddy.
Rachel.
Yes.
So here's the deal. Rachel.
I love Rachel too.
Rachel is crafted and made as this new replicant that's supposed to be able to procreate and have its own offspring. Mm-hmm. Deckard is the other side of that. And he's the other portion of this thing. That's why whenever Tyrell sees him partway through the first movie, he's so ecstatic that he's here because the plans that he laid into place are all coming to fruition.
That's really important. They speak to that because the guy who makes the robots, the dude who has the weird disease in the first Blade Runner, he literally makes this point concrete, solidly, where he says, "I've never ever beaten him once at chest. He's always moves ahead of me."
Yeah. So here we are.
That's foreshadowing the entire thing.
So here we are. Now hold on.
You're reaching.
No.
Listen.
Well, I'm going to set the hook. I'm going to set the hook even deeper. So here we are. We have Deckard, who in this movie 2049, while he's talking to Jared Leto's character, Leto's like, "Did you think this was all just a coincidence?" Okay. Now hold on. No, wait. Don't.
You better hurry up because I'm about to lay down some fucking law.
Here's the deal. Jared Leto's character is also sitting here going, I have both the key and the lock, and it won't turn. He has both, at that moment, Harrison Ford's character and Rachel's bones and DNA. He has both parts of the equation. He can't make it work. He needs the product. That's why he's after the child. That's why he needs this extra thing. What we're seeing is that from the first movie into this one, between the dream sequence, his partner, the dude that's like all hands off and things of that nature, he's the guy that's assisting the plant of Deckard into this thing in order to have him cross paths with Rachel. Those two are supposed to trigger with one another in order to have this thing occur that goes back to his planning, Tyrell's planning and trying to make this into a thing and trying to make this process a reality to where replicants can then procreate and have their own. It all builds upon itself.
Tyrell very clearly loves the replicants. He calls Batty his son.
He clearly looks at one of them, and he says,
and they're Nexus 6. Okay, he says to Batty, who is a Nexus 6, long before they ever had full lives.
Yep.
Well, we've done this. We've tried this.
He actually looks remorseful for the fact that he can't fix their short term.
He's sad. He feels compassion for his creation. He calls them his children.
Okay, now I'm going to go back to, you cannot use Neander, which is the Jared Leto's character's name. The guy obviously has a little bit of a god complex, and he is trying to get to the child's bones no matter what. He's going to say whatever the fuck he thinks will possibly get. He is trying to break Deckard's, Harrison Ford's character, he's trying to break Deckard into just giving up the child by convincing him that every single thing that he's ever been a part of in his whole life is some grand design. Because if you can break Deckard and all of a sudden he realizes, or he thinks even, that, well, I'm just a replicant and everything was designed and nothing matters, then he will just give up whatever information that you want.
He still wouldn't. He still wouldn't.
Bullshit.
He still wouldn't.
He absolutely would. If you break someone to that level where you prove to
if
them,
that's the
or
only
they
thing,
hit the realization that everything in their life is a lie.
And that's fine.
Everything
at that
in your life is a lie.
That's fine. Listen, that's fine. Even still, he knows whether or not everything leading up to it was a lie or not. He knows he had a child. And he knows the child's out there in the world.
Yeah,
and if there's even a pinnacle of a chance, even a moment of a chance that not saying anything about it is going to save his child, he'd do it. Would you do it?
Well, yeah.
Well, I know I would. Would you?
That's the mindfuck of biology. The imperative is to do fucking irrational shit for something that doesn't actually matter.
So you love this thing. So you would, most people would go, hey, you know what? I'm still not going to tell you anything. It still doesn't save him. It doesn't save his bacon at all. It doesn't do any good.
It's not
so
bring Rachel back.
If you have this opportunity to not say a thing and potentially save a life, you probably would.
And this is the thing. Even if love is fabricated,
doesn't matter.
That feeling.
That's why he looks at him and he goes, "I know what is real."
Right.
So
and it's that whole case too. Even when he looks at the replicant of Rachel and goes, "Well, her eyes were green."
Yeah, it's
not her. Never going to bring
her back. It's not her, even if it's a copy of her.
Even if it's an exact copy of her,
he'd still find flaw.
Her.
Yeah. It's still
because
not the same.
In that moment, a moment of irrationality, if I know what is real, it doesn't matter what anything else is. You're back to surrounding yourself with people who tell you what you want to hear.
Everything leading up to that moment could have 100% been a lie. 100% been a lie. But the reality following that, the part that he's like, I know what is real, is that child.
And that's, he creates his own reality. And even so, and they never talk about this shit, but with all of the other synthetic things that are going on in that life, memories are fabricated.
Yep.
You can make memories, you can implant memories, you can use your memories to base them, to create new memories. So who's to say that any human even has any actual memory?
True. So, okay, we're going to dance past a bunch of things here. We have about 5 minutes left towards the end of the episode.
In the book, he was a human fuckers.
Fine, but
and all the screenwriters and Ridley Scott said that they didn't like the book and they never wanted to make a
Ridley
movie
Scott
about it.
back in 2014 very explicitly said that Deckard is in fact a replicant.
Well, Ridley Scott has nothing to do with his writing, and he's the director because the screenwriter,
he's the one who's crafting the entire universe.
Okay, and the person who actually wrote the fucking script has stated multiple times.
First of all, there were three people who wrote the script.
The last revision that they actually used for the movie.
Three people collaborated to create the script. Go ahead and tell me that one of them has a definitive answer, and I'll tell you.
I'm saying that they refuse to tell anyone,
and that's fine
because that's the whole fun of the fucking game.
But then Ridley Scott, on the other hand, the guy that's going, "Hey, this is the thing. This
is the world I'm creating."
He goes, "He is in fact a replicant.
Which, and in a weird way, Harrison Ford going, oh, well, I believe he was a human, in actuality plays even better to the whole thing, because it's like, yes, I want you to believe you're a human. You play like you're a fucking human because you're not, and that's what I want you to be.
And that is setting hooks all the way down the line. And unless, who's the director on this one? Dennis, what's his last name?
Villeneuve.
No, it's Vanilla.
Villeneuve.
Oh,
Villeneuve.
Villeneuve. All right, so unless he's planning on changing a bunch of things, and
which he's not. He's good friends with Ridley Scott.
Exactly.
And apparently collaborated quite a bit.
I was going to say, unless he's looking at changing a bunch of things here, which, like I said, he's not, then that probably continues to hold true. Yeah. I mean, he still played to that edge where you don't really know, but there are a lot of things that are said and a bunch of things that are done, which leans way more towards him being a replicant than not. It's back
to the question of what makes life
matter. And here we go. I'll look this up. Okay, the two people that wrote the screenplay, not three, David Peoples and Hampton Fancher. Yes, and even the guy who wrote the book, which, because we could take the book out because you talk about how the people don't like the book. Right. David Peoples and Hampton Fancher all saw Deckard as human. In multiple interviews, they all saw Deckard as human. So just because, as a director, I take this thing that says he's a human and I go, well, no, I'm going to shit on it, doesn't just make it a different story. Like, how it is written, Deckard is a human.
Ridley Scott was also part of the creative process in the screenwriting. And there were revisions that were done. There were different cuts.
I do have one last question, and then we're going to go to the game where I want to hear what you have to say, and then we're going to end this. So a person I was speaking with the other day pointed out that Blade Runner's universe exists in the same universe as Aliens.
I could see it.
Okay.
I mean,
and that Ash and Bishop and all of them are kind of knockoffs of replicants.
Given a long enough timeline, all possibilities are possible.
I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was at least worth bringing up and mentioning. Didn't have anything.
It exists with Predator also.
Yeah, there's definite hard lines that are there, but
Aliens exist within Predator, therefore Predator exists within Blade Runner.
True.
Yep.
So we've got some overlap there. I thought the idea was fascinating. I didn't necessarily have a whole bunch more to dive down that rabbit hole, but
the
just wanted to
is big.
Wanted to bring it up.
Really big.
Really, really big. All right, so we have a game that we've been doing here recently where I ask people to take two source materials, preferably of visual media, and try to cross them over into a single universe and explain to me how and what the implications are of said universe. Dire Monkey came up with a really good one with Westworld and Jurassic Park. I really, really dig that one. But Jesse, you're playing the game today.
Yep.
Why don't you come up here?
All right.
There you go.
So,
and what do you got?
I thought about this a lot.
Okay.
And short of going for something that, and again, I'm very literal. I am very much, I like things to fit together in ways that are very neat. Short of picking something that's already out there as, hey, look at this theory. The thing that I came up with, and I like this one a lot, is the first thing, and chronologically the first thing, being The Truman Show.
Okay.
The second thing is Dark City.
Okay.
And the way that I connect these
it's been
together,
a long time since I've seen Dark City.
Yeah, Dark City is weird.
You've never seen Dark City? Oh, it's really
From
good.
The director of The Crow. It's really trippy flick. But so anyway, the way that, first of all, I'm going to tie them together in that, so they both center around one protagonist character who is locked into a world of someone else's creation, and they're finding their way out of this world of someone else's creation. Now, I'm going to say that The Truman Show is actually the precursor to Dark City, in that this was before they had actually enslaved the remaining parts of humanity, and they were essentially running tests to see how they could enslave humanity.
Okay.
And in The Truman Show, they realized that they couldn't just feed people memories. They couldn't create these fake memories and use actors to play them, but they actually had to manipulate their memories. And that leads into, in Dark City, them actually changing people's memories and changing the city around them. Now, even further still, we're going to go ahead and draw some more comparisons here. The Truman Show, he's on an island.
Right.
The border is the water.
Right.
He can't get out because he can't go past the water.
Right.
Okay. In Dark City,
because he's afraid of the water.
The border is the water. no one can get out past the water. There's no way out.
Yeah, you're just stuck in the city.
Right, but there's water on the border.
Right.
Very interesting thing there. Now, this is a fun one, too. So in The Truman Show, part of what sets off the original guy about, oh my god, this isn't real, is that he almost gets hit by this falling star, which happens to be a fucking stage light. In Dark City, there's never anything in the sky.
It's all dark. Yeah,
it's always dark because they realize that they can't have anything up there because they might realize that it's fake.
Okay, this is a good one too. I really need to
this.
go back and watch Dark City now. Wow.
Yeah.
So basically what we're doing...
Truman Show was the aliens before the people knew, or before, the downfall of humanity. The aliens essentially came and set up to create the Truman Show, and this was like their alpha.
Okay,
they were testing out this program to sort of see what they needed to do to make this a sustainable thing.
We have...
and through their mistakes in the Truman Show, they eventually go to the Dark City premise where they have the rest of humanity enslaved.
We have I have an angle on that's a little off, and maybe you can explain it away for me. The director for The Truman Show, as he's explaining it all, he's just, they're taking people out of their lives to watch this happier thing happening.
Right.
Is he in on it? Does that make him one of the... Is he in cahoots with...
He's one of the Dark Men?
Yeah.
I would say that, there's a good possibility that he's one of the Dark Men, and that
this way they can do this in the public eye.
Actually going right. You can do it in the public eye, and you're going in both directions. Not only are you seeing what you can and can't do to your subject, but you're seeing how the ancillary characters are reacting to it as well. You're collecting so much data as to how you can control a mass populace.
So basically, they're doing an experiment directly in the public eye, but...
Right, and
without their knowledge,
and they're getting the feedback from who they're experimenting on, i.e., Truman,
right,
and all of the people around him, the rest of existence. So that when you get to Dark City, you can actually control everyone because you know how to manipulate their memories.
All right,
to make them.
I'm digging on this
specific thing.
I'm liking this. I'm gonna have to go back and watch Dark City now.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one.
I appreciate this very much. I see, and it fits perfectly into what it is that we've been talking about as well.
Right, and I think that's part of what primed me for the whole thing too. So,
I think it's a really good one. Ledge, you got any more thoughts on all of this business? No thoughts. You shaking, giving me a good head shake on
that. People can hear that brain rattling.
I mean, he's giving me head shakes on a audio podcast.
Absolutely, I followed it up with words.
You did
with words.
Dire Monkey, you have anything you'd like to add to the episode itself?
I still want to see the movie where Pennywise wakes up after 27 years and his sewer is now being run by 4 giant turtles and a giant talking rat.
Oh my god, that would be the best, wouldn't it?
If only Pennywise could become Dr. Baxter.
Yeah.
That would be,
So we're right here at the end of the episode, as I keep mentioning. Dire Monkey, isn't anything from Spellbook Studios that we should be aware of?
Not yet.
Nothing?
I'm looking at the board.
I know you got some stuff coming up, but I don't know.
There have been some changes made to the expansion, Infinite Black expansion, but we can't talk about it yet.
Fair.
I'm looking at the board trying to pick out a hint, but I can't pick out a hint.
And that's fine. All right, well, there's stuff. There are things coming, and that's the best you got.
Things and stuff.
So go over and check out Spellbook Studios. Be sure to read their forums and all that good business. Check out some of our other things. I put up gameplay content, things of that nature. And then you, Mr. Ledge, and you, Mr. Jesse, on occasion get on your channels and do things.
Occasionally.
When
still I don't feel like I'm going to die because back to that whole life will screw you.
Right. You guys are doing yours over at Plunder Gaming.
Absolutely.
Gaming.
Yeah.
Coming for that booty.
Coming for that booty. I love it. That's fantastic. All right, well, that's been us, and I think we've covered a good portion of things, enough to hopefully tantalize. Ledge, would you recommend going and having people see the movie itself?
I mean, I would, absolutely.
Okay. Jesse?
It was a great flick.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think, whether you're wrong and you think Deckard's a human or you know that Deckard's a replicant, it's a really good flick.
Throwing punches till the end, isn't he?
Yep.
I think everybody should go see it as well.
Some people just can't let go that they're wrong. It's all right.
Do some refresher, go back, watch some of the original stuff, and leave some comments.
And I will say, watching the 3 shorts will give you some fill-in. It definitely will enable you to have more buy-in to the movie.
I agree with that as well. I know that they put up some stuff here recent times where they're like, oh yeah, you got to watch this beforehand, then it didn't really necessarily do anything.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, this definitely helps. Give us a listen here. If you got some thoughts and comments, leave them in the section below where it gives you the opportunity for that, and we'll catch you all later. All right, bye.
Make sure to check out our website, All Tower. Fucking hell.
Bloody hell, mate.
Let me try that one again.